Good morning, guys. This is That History Dude, and I'm back again with some more history about Somerled and his family tree. So, in the first part, I talked about Olaf the Red and the Crovan dynasty going down in Somerled, his family, and his sons. Now, I want to touch on a little bit more on the Crovan dynasty and how it intertwined with his sons and his grandchildren, and the infighting that led uh, that followed. Sorry. So again, Somerled married Ragnhild, Olaf's daughter, the daughter from the first marriage of Olaf the Red Goderson, King of Man, and Ingeborg Hagendaughter. He took this opportunity because she was daughter, and when he was weak and was on his deathbed, took her claim to take over the Isles and Man. Godred was still very young and weak and was not able to repel the attack of Somerled and the Gaelic invaders. So, thus, he became Somerled King of the Isles, while Godred was only King of Man. Somerled's heritage is Norse Gael. His father is Gillibride MacGilliadamon, Thane of Argyll. We know that he has a sister, Mariet MacGillibride, who married Malcolm MacHeths, 1st Earl Ross. It is not known 100% why Somerled was killed. He was assassinated by a man named Maurice MacNeil in the tent right outside of Renfrew right before the battle. So it is guessed and implied in the historical record that this man, Maurice MacNeil, was hired by Malcolm MacHeths, the 1st Earl Ross, his brother-in-law. Not understanding why, what the feud was between them, what the fighting was between them, but it's all just hearsay right now. But nonetheless, Somerled did die, along with his son, Gilcolm, which was from a previous marriage. Somerled also had few other sons before his main three. He had Gillis, Olaf, and Galmixallen. They disappear from the historical record and never gain any title or land, so they're not that important right now. So when Somerled died, it's not known how these three major sons of his received their inheritance, whether it was split completely between the three of them, or if it was already written down in a will. But their land seems to be polka dotted throughout the Western Isles and not together in what would make sense. Now, when Somerled died and his three sons took their inheritance, Godred Olafsson took advantage of this situation and took back some of his territories. Godred would go on to take back the North Isles, would take back Lewis, Harris, the West, and Barra, while Dugald inherited Lorne, Mull, and Jorah, Ranald inherited Easley and Kintyre, along with parts of Bute, Erin, and Gomorron. And Angus would inherit lands of Ardnamurchan to Glenegg, and he also had parts of Bute, Erin, Gomorron, Mordart, and Nordart. There was a peace between them all, the four main men, for a while, until the fighting broke out between Angus and Ranald. At this time, Ranald took his sister, Beatrice, and made her the prioress of Iona, where she is buried there today. Ranald and Angus would have a feud ongoing for 2 generations. Well, for 3, really, actually. So Angus would end up killing Ranald, and then Ranald and his sons would end up feuding continuously for a couple more years until Donald and Rory killed Angus and his 3 sons all in the same battle. They all died in 1210. So when Ranald died in 1207, Donald became Lord of Easley, and Rory took the lands of Kintyre and Gomorron. With these lands forfeited, Rory took the whole of Gomorron. James MacAngus was the only one known to have a child, an heir, Jane MacAngus, and she would go on to marry Alexander Stewart, the 4th High Steward. The Stewarts would repeatedly raid and try to take back Bute. It wouldn't be until later that when the Isles were possessed by Alexander III, King of Scotland, that Alexander Stewart would take his lands claimed by his wife. So Rory had 2 sons, Dougal MacRory and Alan MacRory. Alan MacRory became Lord of Gomorron and married a woman named Isabella. Not much is known about Isabella. She's thought to be a Gaelic commoner of no note, which is why there's not much information on her. Dougal MacRory, he would become captain of the Gallaglass mercenaries. He, along with several other men, would go on and be hired by his son-in-law, Hugh MacPhelan O'Connor, King of Connacht, to fight against the other Irish kings. So his daughter Juliana made the marriage pact, and they were in his service. He also had a son, Duncan MacRory, who would go on to have 2 more sons. I will go into more detail about his sons and Alan MacRory's sons in a later video, just about the MacRorys. Also, a side note about the MacRorys, I anglicized the last names to keep it uniformed in this poster here. The last names are supposed to be spelled in Rory's in the RUAIR form. but just for convenience and to keep everything uniformed, I did anglicize their names. So, now to Donald. Donald married an unknown woman, an unknown Stewart. She was the daughter of Walter FitzAlan, the first High Steward of Scotland. And from that marriage came Alasdair More MacDonald. He will be the progenitor of Clan MacAlisters of Loop, and Angus More MacDonald, Lord of Islay. So Alasdair More MacDonald was killed in 1299 by Alexander MacDougall and Duncan MacDougall. There had been a feud between the MacDonalds and MacDougalls for quite some time. The Dougals, or I should say, the MacDougalls, had styled themselves as the Kings of the Isles after the fall of Summerled. For they held Argyll, the mainland, and were in the most power with most land. Eowyn MacDougall was best friends with William Wallace and fought in the Wars of Independence of Scotland. Eowyn would go on to have several children: Maria MacDougall, Alexander MacDougall, 4th of Dunley, Duncan MacDougall, 6th of Dunley, and Juliana MacDougall. Maria MacDougall married 4 different times and had several important children. All her husbands died. They were either killed in battle, died by accident. One of her husbands is Magnus Olason, King of Men. But I will go into a deeper video with more details about the MacDougalls and all her marriages and what came of them. Alexander MacDougall married an unknown Coleman woman. She was daughter of John the First Coleman of Badenoch. So after William Wallace, and then with Robert the Bruce and the following Wars of Independence, Alexander MacDougall, and along with the other MacDougalls, all sided with the Coleman claim to be King of Scotland. While Angus More MacDonald, of Lord of Islay, he was best friends with Robert the Bruce. So when Angus More, when everyone found out that Robert the Bruce killed the Coleman in the church, it was a strict line of feuding once again. This little piece between the two was forfeited. These two ended up moving to Ireland and became the MacDonalds of Ulster. Now with Angus More MacDonald, he married a Campbell woman. She was daughter of Sir Colin Campbell of Lochow. And they had Alasdair Og MacDonald, Angus Og MacDonald, Lord of Islay, and 2 unknown daughters, and Eowyn Spragnet MacDonald. The 2 unknown daughters would marry Hugh Bissett, who was an Anglo-Norman knight, and the other one would marry Donogh O'Donnell, King of Tyrconnell. He was king of a county in Ireland. Funny enough, these 2 were fighting against each other, and the Gallowglass mercenaries were fighting on this side, and the MacDonalds were fighting on this side, so it was a fight against each other, but only because they were being paid to fight. Eowyn Spragnet MacDonald was a progenitor of Clan MacIains of Ardnamurchan. I will go into this branch at a later video, along with the children of Angus Old MacDonald Laura Weasley and Annie MacHeths. She was from the O'Neill dynasty. And then just to note, Magnus Olafsson's mother is Christina MacTaggart Ross, and Olaf the Black, his mother is Fingola Nick Laughlin. I will also do a further detailed video on the Crovan dynasty and the kings of Man and their vassals. This is very simple because there were lots of siblings in between, so the family was more extended. So this is a wrap up of the main Summerled family for the first 4-5 generations. The rest of the videos I will be doing will be on the more detailed families and the progenitors of each sept or cadet branch of the main family. So I will focus on a separate video for the MacDougalls, a separate video for the MacDonalds of Ulster, a separate video for Clan MacAllister, a separate video for Clan Donald, separate video for Clan MacIains of Ardnamurchan, separate videos for the MacRorys, for the Stewarts, and for the Crovan dynasty. And I'll even go down and mention the MacHeths, because they were a pain, along with the MacWilliams, for Alexander II, the King of Scotland.